Maria Teresa of Savoy was the wife of Charles II, Duke of Parma. Early life. Maria Teresa was born in Palazzo Colonna in Rome, the daughter of King Victor Emmanuel I of Sardinia and of his wife, Archduchess Maria Teresa of Austria-Est. She had a twin sister, Maria Anna. The two princesses were baptized by Pope Pius VII. Their godparents were the maternal grandparents, Archduke Ferdinand of Austria-Est and his wife Maria Beatrice Ricciarda d'Este. In the Museo di Roma can be seen a painting of the baptism. Maria Teresa spent the majority of her childhood in Cagliari on the island of Sardinia, where her family had taken refuge from the armies of Napoleon I of France. In 1814 her father was restored to rule in Piedmont and the family returned to Turin. She had hoped to marry her cousin Charles Albert of Savoy, who in 1817 married Archduchess Maria Teresa of Austria, a daughter of the Duke of Tuscany. Marriage. On 5 September 1820, in Lucca, Maria Teresa married Charles Louis, Prince of Lucca. They had two children, Luisa Francesca di Parola Teresa Maria Anna Clothilde Beatrice. Carlo Giuseppe Maria Vittorio Baldassare, Duke of Parma. Maria Teresa was beautiful, tall, regal with a noble and melancholic expression. Charles Louis, Prince of Lucca, was handsome and they were said to be the best-looking royal couple of the time. However, they were mismatched. She was a deeply religious woman committed to her Catholic faith. Charles Louis lived largely for his own pleasure, often ignoring his governmental responsibilities. They lived most of their married life apart from each other. Even if there was no love, Charles Louis later commented, there was respect. On 13 March 1824, Charles Louis' mother died, and he succeeded her as Duke. Charles I of Lucca. Maria Teresa became Duchess of Lucca. Neglected by her husband, who had numerous affairs, she turned increasingly towards religion and grew disdainful of court life and entertainments, to which her husband was attached. He sometimes dragged her in his travels, and in 1829 she accompanied him visiting the court of Saxony. The relationship, cold from the beginning, deteriorated quickly with time. Later life. Eventually she retired completely from the court of Lucca, settling permanently first in Villa di Marilia and later to her villa at Piano, where, surrounded by priests and nuns, she dedicated her life to religion. After 1840 she lived in complete religious seclusion in Piano. She was very attached to her own Sardinian family and lived a life dedicated to religion. She surrounded herself by her confessor and her homeopathic doctors. Her husband visited her, but he commented that her weak intellect and lack of sensitivity would enable her to live a century. She had little influence over the son who, in 1845, married Princess Louise Marie-Thérèse d'Artois, a daughter of the Duke of Berry and the only sister of the French legitimate pretender the Count of Chambord. On 17 December 1847, the Empress Marie-Louise died, and, in accordance with the Congress of Vienna, Charles exchanged the Duchy of Lucca for that of Parma, becoming Duke Charles II of Parma. Maria Teresa became Duchess of Parma, but only for few months. The revolution broke out in March 1848. In March 1849 Charles abdicated as Duke of Parma and was succeeded by the son, Charles III. Maria Teresa lived mostly at her villa at Viareggio, particularly after the assassination of her son in 1854. Though she built a chapel as a memorial for her son. Later she lived in a villa in San Martino in Vignale on the hills just north of Lucca, served only by her confessor and the administrator of the property. The villa is still called Tenuta Maria Teresa in her honor. Though she died in 1879 as a result of cerebral arteriosclerosis, she was buried in the Verano Cemetery in Rome, dressed in the habit of the Third Order of St. Dominic. Ancestry. Bibliography Matteo Sainz de Medrano, Riccardo, Changing Thrones, Duke Carlo II of Parma. Published in Royalty History Digest, Volume 3, N1. July 1993.